Hi there.
Hi, Marty. Thanks. You're right on time.
Oh yeah, almost, yeah.
Thanks for giving us this time. Particularly, you're just beginning quite a large tour of the UK.
Yeah, well, it's enjoyable, It's been
Mhm.
my life's work on the road, so
Indeed.
it's another step, if you know what I mean.
You're going to quite a few different places.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, all over the UK,
Mm.
but I'm used to that, and it's it'll be nice to get out and see places again because I,
Mhm.
I enjoy traveling very much.
How was Bury St Edmunds?
Yeah, it was good. It was a big. It was a good audience. It was a big crowd. So yeah, it was lovely.
I've got
And
I've got childhood memories of Bury St Edmunds. My grandparents used to live there, so
all right,
we had a few childhood holidays there.
it's a very middle class area, isn't it? So they
Yeah.
say
Hmm.
quite well to do. A lot of
Yeah.
those people, but yeah, it got a lovely theatre. It's beautiful.
Hmm. Hmm. Have you ever come over to Australia? Have you ever come to Australia?
Yes, I have, and totally enjoyed it. In fact, I always tell everybody,
Hmm.
we tell everybody for the last year, this country is so a bit down in the dumps at the moment. They're saying if you think of the future, start either pick Australia or New Zealand.
Hmm.
Just get out. It's a nice area. Good. I like the Aussies because they're honest. There's a kind of an honesty that runs through that country.
Hmm.
I think sometimes maybe they're much more forceful in what they say than maybe our politicians. But our politicians now have clammed up. They have to toe the line. They
Yeah,
can't
indeed.
speak. Can't always speak the truth. They have to speak what the public want to hear.
Hmm.
So, but I like the Aussies very much. Oh
When
my God, we're going back to now when the kids were. I came over with Ricky and Kim when
Mhm.
they would have been about seven, so it was a long time ago, but
Right.
lovely. And we stayed most of the time in Sydney and travelled out from there.
Hmm.
Um, but it was very enjoyable,
Hmm.
lovely.
I've asked somebody locally here in Melbourne about their memories of Marty Wilde, and I'm told that you had a hit here, a few hits here, of course, but particularly in Melbourne with Bad Boy in 1960.
Yeah,
Got to the top 50 here in Australia. And
yeah, it was,
also Abergavenny was really a big one.
yeah, Abergavenny. Yeah, that was a very happy time for me. That was in the 70s. That was,
Hmm.
yeah, that was a very happy time.
Yeah.
It's an interesting song because it was written as like a brass band song, and
Hmm.
it comes across that way, the great brass band sound.
Hmm.
I'd like to hear more brass bands play it actually than
Hmm.
no. It seems to me no one ever does, but they did in London. There's a brass band in London that were playing it at one time, but it's a good brass band song.
Yeah.
Good, Brad. Yeah.
Where did the inspiration come from for that?
Well, I was on my way to Swansea, in Wales, and yeah, and driving there on the way through. On the right, there was a sign. It pointed to the right as you're driving along, and it said Abergavenny, and it was the rhythm of that name. It's bap bap
Hmm.
bap bap Abergavenny, and I thought, yeah, so that's how it started. And from then on in, I just, taking a trip up to, and I started to write the songbook before I'd actually been there. But
Hmm.
then eventually, of course, I caught up with it, and it's
Hmm.
a it's a market town. It's beautiful,
The gateway
quite
to
beautiful.
Wales.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah. Could you tell us something about going back a bit? What originally inspired you to pursue a career in music?
I think just love of music. Just, since I was a child, I've always loved music very much. It's been a huge part. When I was a child, I was always singing, and I remember my father during the war, they got me to sing for the army boys,
Mm.
and so they put me in a. I remember being in this big army coat, and he got me on his shoulder, my father, and I sang to the troops, and it was just the boys that were there, in this billet, in this army billet. And I remember there was a lot of applause, and I think that stayed with me. I
Hmm.
think something about that stayed with me. But I love singing anyway, and I was always at school. Music was my biggest passion again, and most of the time when I should have been learning, I was probably knowing me, I was tapping and singing, and I was always in trouble for
Hmm.
not concentrating because I most of my mind was away with the fairies, to be honest with you.
Hmm.
'Cause, I just it was always melody lines, and some songs really used to hit me, like they do now. But obviously, in those days, it was a different influence. It was
Yeah.
people like Guy Mitchell and Frankie Lane and all the old names, and I used to I used to love all those tracks, but then then rock and roll came in, and that's when a whole new world opened up for me.
Mm.
It was whole new thing.
Elvis changed everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. He certainly did. Well, I mean, he was the leader, I would think, or one of the big leaders, but there were others, of course, that were close to him and were all part of that
Hmm.
big avalanche, which it was. It was an avalanche,
Mm.
and but he was undoubtedly the main man, and he was the biggest inspiration, I think, for many of the British rock and rollers, Billy Fury, Cliff, myself,
Hmm.
all those people, Terry Dean. We were all influenced markedly by Elvis.
And one of your new songs is called "Talking About Elvis."
Yeah, it's a song really. I like to write songs. I wrote one for Eddie Cochran, which is just called Eddie, and that came out around about 3 years ago. And recently, about a year ago, I thought of it's kind of a thank you letter. It's like a letter saying thank you,
Hmm.
and it's from my heart. It is from my heart. All the words on that Elvis song is exactly as it was. When I first heard his voice, it opened up this whole new world. And his style and what he was showing us, that also helped us too. He was wearing great jackets, he was moving a certain way, differently to what had gone before.
Hmm.
He had kind of there was a lot of inhibition really in what he was doing in many ways as a young man, and it affected all of us, so it did.
Hmm. I know he never went to the UK,
No, no,
but
he did.
there is a legend, there is a rumor that he did visit one time.
Well, he was based in Germany. I was supposed to
Yeah.
see him at one point. It was fixed that I would go to see him. I knew his one of his right hand men came over to with Elvis to Germany, but while they were based in Germany, he would come across to the UK because it was only a short trip away.
Hmm.
And so he came. He um, got in to see our. We were doing a television show called Boy Meets Girls,
Wow.
and he got in and we became friends, and I said to him, "Is there any chance of meeting Elvis at some point?" And he said, "Well, yeah." He said, "I can fix it." He said, "But we need to get Elvis away from the army, so which means a furlough. He'll get a weekend off. He might get a Saturday or a couple of days off. And when he does, he said, I'll fix it up that you come and meet him." So it was all arranged. And and then he spoke to me. He came over to England again. He said, "We fixed it for the day." He said, "We're going to meet him in the afternoon." He said, You'll be able to stay and spend an afternoon with Elvis." I said, "That'd be fantastic."
Hmm.
Then, unfortunately, Larry Pards, my manager, came through and he said he didn't know about this meeting either. And he said, "Well," he said, "we've got a television coming." He said, and I said, "Well, I'm supposed to be meeting Elvis." He said, "Well, I'm sorry." He said, "You need and the song was Bad Boy." He said, "You're
Hmm.
going to need a plug for this song. We need as many plugs as we can get if we want to get it in the charts." So anyway, I was so disappointed. So I got the record Bad Boy. I gave it to Lamar Fike. I said, "Look, I won't be able to make it." I said, "Well, do me one big favor." I said, "When you get over to Germany, take this record with you, play Bad Boy to Elvis on the jukebox he's got out there, and tell me if Elvis thinks it's a hit or not going to be a hit." Because I didn't know if it was going to be a hit,
Yeah.
and because it was pre-released. And so anyway, he did, and when he came back, he said, "Yeah," he said, "Elvis thinks it's going to be a big hit." I said, "Does he?" He said, "Yes, he does." So that was it. So that was the closest I ever got to the guy.
He didn't steal the song from you.
No, 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 no.
We've talked about a few of the hits that you've had. Is there one song in particular that holds a special place in your heart?
I think probably two.
Mm,
Well, there are several. I mean, I suppose, obviously, Bad Boy. That was my first hit, that a self-penned hit anyway,
mm,
as a songwriter. I think Kids in America with Kim will always hold a big place. And if I had to pick one of my songs that was one of my favorites, I would say probably Jessamine. Yeah, that's a song which I'm still very happy about as a
mm,
song. Yeah, I think it was a song that I didn't think would ever reach people at all. It seemed to be off the wall, but over here it managed to reach number two, just behind the Beatles. So it was a
mm,
lovely accolade to get from the public, because the group were unknown. The Casuals weren't a known group, so that song was selling on its merits, not on some
mm,
big name or anything. So, and they didn't know it was me because I didn't put it under my name. Sometimes I've done that to write under another name, pseudonym, because otherwise some people would not have taken my songs, because rock and roll. So he's a rock and roll singer. He doesn't write songs, so that kind of carries on,
mm,
with people in their minds
mm,
psychologically. So to change that, I went under the name of Frere Manston. That was what's on several of those early songs, but it worked. It worked for
mm.
it did work.
Because it was a time when singers weren't writing their own songs. You were
That's
either a
right.
singer or a writer.
It was, yeah. I mean, they were in America,
Mm.
but maybe earlier, but not so much over here. It was quite a rarity.
You mentioned kids in America and Kim, of course. What's it been like having music run in the family?
It's been great. It was great, and it was great for me because I didn't have to do all the groundwork. I could write the songs, and then she had to do all the plugging and go around the world and
Mm.
with the songs. So, in many ways, it was a nice thing for me because it gave me time to be home more, a bit less to be on the road because I didn't want. I wanted to come off the road for a little while and have a break, and which I did. So some of those years were spent most of the time writing songs, and it was obviously financially it was a great thing for us, but it was interesting as a writer. I learned a lot, an awful lot. I mean, first of all, you find out how bad you are. You don't find out how good you are. You find out how bad you are. You look at some of the songs and you think, oh, hold on a minute, But by and large, I always tried my very best to give her some good songs, and she did well in the charts, very
Mm.
well.
Three number ones here in Australia.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's lovely.
Nine hit songs and three making number one between 1981 and 93.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's lovely.
and that Kids in America is such a sensational song.
Yeah, it's done very well. It's
Mm,
it's a strange thing, you write a song. Funny enough, Mickey Most, who was Kim's was boss of her record label. He was in the studio with Rick and I and Kim, and also he was with his wife. Mickey Most is not alive anymore. But he was a
mm,
great man. I respected him greatly, and so the track was being played in the big studio on these big speakers, and he said to me, what do you think? I said, it sounds good. He said, and what do you think? He said, I said, do you think it'll do well? He said, yes, I do. Obviously, that's why we're here. So I said, well, I reckon it might make. I said, I think it could make the top 50. And he said, I think it could make the top two.
mm,
So there was a huge. He was very confident
mm.
about what the song was going to do. But when you writing a song, you get so close to it, you can't see the wood for the tree.
You need to trust people who listen to it and let you know what
Well,
it's
you could,
about.
yeah, you could trust Mickey Most. He had an incredible ear.
Mm,
He had the most mind-blowing ear. He
mhm.
he could spot a hit from miles away. So yeah, we were very lucky to have him.
As well as being involved in music, you've also done a little bit of acting.
Yeah, oh well, I would say a little bit. Yeah, I would say a little bit. All right. I never considered myself an actor. I mean, to me, it was a nice experience, but I
Mhm.
never ever once ever thought, oh, I've really got to do this. I knew I didn't want to, but it was great to do it. I mean, the most enjoyable one was what a crazy world with Joe
With Joe
Brown.
Brown, yeah.
Yeah, and I love doing that. That was great fun. That
Mm.
was great. A bit rude by today's standards, but
Yeah,
nevertheless, it was an honest. It was an honest. That's the way the
yeah,
mentality was and what was going down at the time in Great Britain. So,
yeah. Rather
um,
politically incorrect, but it was okay.
yeah.
There's a scene in the Labour Exchange.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you can remember it.
I remember a bit of it. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of it is Joe and I were a couple of shockers at times. I
Mm.
know we were having a lot of fun on it, and Michael Carreras, if I remember rightly, was the director, and he didn't. He, he found it. I think God knows what he thought of us, because I mean he'd been used to straight actors, and there were these two rock and rollers, or two
Mm.
pop stars having fun, but we were very close to what we were portraying. That was one of the good
Yeah.
things, and that's probably how the honor. There's a little bit of honesty in some of those scenes.
Mhm. What advice would you give to aspiring musicians just starting out in the industry today?
A difficult one.
Mm.
I would say, do just keep working, just keep your head down and work. I mean, try to
Mhm.
be in, try to get inspired, because inspiration is, I know in myself, I can be very easily inspired. I can be like, 1 minute I can't write a song and I think I'll never write a song again. It will never be a hit. I can't do it. And then suddenly I'll get a telephone call, or I'll see in the paper, or someone will call me and say, love that new song. And
Mhm.
oh, yes, of course I can write. And then you believe it. So I think believe in yourself as much as you can, but you really got to work hard. And in this day and age, I think it's even harder than when I was a younger man, because there are so many areas to attend to. You've got to attend to the press, the way you live, what you do. You make one mistake, say the wrong thing, it can change things. But I mean, there are, will always be opportunities. And I mean, and I think try to improve yourself. Try to get a sense of improvement. Don't be happy with what you are. That's one thing. You should always be trying to make yourself better as an artist or as a songwriter or whatever. Try to improve. It's one of the
Mhm.
key requisites of being an entertainer or a writer. But as I say, and just keep that great love. If you've got that deep love of music, it will carry you through. It's carried me through. It's the only thing that I'm not the world's best singer or the world's best artist or the world's best writer, but my great love, I adore music. I mean, it lives for me. Music is from the moment I wake up and even in my dreams, I dream songs, I dream events, dream shows. And so if you they that keep that great love of music and you'll make it.
What music do you listen to?
I listen to all sorts of music. I can be listening to Pavarotti singing La Boheme. I can listen to the latest. There's some of the American ladies, some of the like Beyonce very much.
Mm.
Her new single, quite like her new single, and so yeah, it just goes like it's very eclectic. Everybody, and I love obviously a lot of the past hits. I have a huge repertoire on my Spotify phone and my computers of hits. I just
Mhm.
put a and so I've got hundreds. So yeah, I just love. I listen to which is unusual for a man of my years. I listen to the American top 50. I take snatches out of it, listen to it, what's happening, probably every other week. And I'm
Mhm.
always intrigued by the number one in America, what makes it and why. And so, yeah, this love of music and styles. There's
Mm.
so many different styles,
Indeed.
I just love it all the time. Fresh
Mm.
things all the time.
We try very hard on this radio show to maintain the music of the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah,
So it's the radio show is called Those Were the Days, once a week. A lot of that
yeah.
music has fallen off a lot of radio stations.
Yeah, well, over here. I mean, we have programs. Obviously, Radio Two has changed greatly from what it
Hmm.
was. So has Radio One, obviously, but Radio Two's changed a lot. But there are other stations, and there are other stations that are very popular, and of course, local radio
Hmm.
is playing a huge part. Thank goodness, because some of the bigger stations sometimes get boring, and also with your local station you can you're getting up to date news of what's happening around you and what so that's very important.
With your new music, I was particularly impressed with the track Running Together.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love writing that
Yeah.
song. I was very happy when I wrote that song.
And that's a
uh,
collaboration with your family as well.
yeah, it was. Well, the idea really came from I watched a couple running. They were running for charity one Saturday morning, and I they asked me would I fire the gun, believe it or not, to kick off the running. So I said, yeah, okay, and I couldn't refuse. It was for the Heart Foundation, somewhat one of the big main charities, and so I fired the gun, and off they went. They were running away, and as they were running, I watched a load of them, as they were going. I thought that's running together. It's got to be a good title. And of course, I went home, and then that was it. And I kept on seeing these runners in my head, and I thought, well, when you think about it, life is like that. With your partner, and two strong people are obviously going to be that much stronger than one strong person.
Hmm.
So it was just a question of writing it after that. And then I thought of my family, and I thought of also of my fans. It was a way of saying thank you, really. But I did enjoy writing, and I enjoy singing it. I work that song in my shows, and
Hmm.
I love it. I love. I wanted. Funny enough, I tried to. We sent the song to Michael Bublé, but he wasn't very interested. Because those all those artists now they have their own writers, which
Hmm.
I find that sad.
Hmm.
I find it sad that you can't write a song and send it to some of the big artists and they say, I'm sorry, but we've got a team of writers here. That's
Hmm.
not the right attitude.
No,
You
very
should be
limited.
Sinatra would never have been Sinatra if he'd have just listened to one narrow genre. He was taking songs from all the best writers in the world,
Hmm.
and it worked. And that's what they should do. And I think Buble and all those artists, they miss out on it, mate.
Of
They
course,
miss
yeah.
out.
Hmm.
They're missing out on something
Hmm.
because, I remember, was it Nat King Cole took the record Nature Boy? Nature Boy was written by like an unknown sort of prophet type character. And he played the song to Nat King Cole, and Nat King Cole took it. The guy was totally unknown, and the song was obviously totally on. It was a brand new song, but he didn't. If he'd have stuck to just seven people writing his songs, I once there was one of these awards where they were giving out statuettes. It was a songwriters thing, and they gave out seven for one song, and I thought that was ludicrous. I thought it was absolutely ludicrous. And that's what's happening today, unfortunately. You get teams of writers that are the only ones that can write for that artist, which is pretty boring. That's my moan of the day, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, thank you so much for giving us this time. It's very exciting to see you being out on tour and also producing new music. We'll be playing a lot of that music in this show and also a lot of your original music from the past over the years.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
That's great. And it's great. It's great to know that that I'm still being played somewhere in Australia because
you
it's
are.
as I say, I've got a great affection for the country. England, Great Britain rather, and Australia have always been very close,
Hmm.
uh, and I'm glad we are because
Hmm.
I think as I said earlier on, it's the honesty really of the Aussies I love. I like it when they don't take much bull. They say it as it is, and I love
Yeah.
that.
I'm going to close the interview by playing To Eye Streaming. And I wonder if you can tell us something about whether you can introduce that for our listeners.
Yeah, I will. It's a song that I wrote. I wrote it really originally. I thought of someone like a submarine commander, or someone who's working on a boat that's away for months on end, going under the water, like they do for months on end sometimes, and submarines, saying goodbye to the wife and the child and at the quayside and all that. And then I thought back to also my own father, and I miss my father when a lot of the time during the war, because he had to be away, and we had to try and follow him as best as we could. But there is that loneliness, I think, and this song sort of says, well, don't worry. It's a song saying, it's almost like saying we'll meet again.
Hmm.
Don't worry. I'll be back. It's like that old Vera Lynn song in a funny kind of way, but in a
Yeah.
modern idiom, because it's saying, I will be back. Don't worry, you're going to get my letters, and
Mm.
there will be peace soon. All this is going to end,
Mm.
and I'll be back, and you'll see me coming down that road, and I won't be going back again. I'll be home forever. And it's that kind of song, because a lot of the kids in during the war, they didn't see their parents for maybe 4 or 5 years sometimes.
Mm.
And even today, obviously, children in Australia and children in England, all over the world,
Still happening.
they have to say goodbye when they're working on oil rigs to their dad, or whatever, and so it's that kind of song.
Hmm.
It's a warm song. It's
Hmm.
affectionate.
You just reminded me a bit about the Chuck Berry song "Memphis, Tennessee." You know the
Okay.
words of that one. The hurry
Yes, I
home,
do.
drops in their eyes. Yeah,
That's right. Long distance information. Give me
yeah,
Memphis. Tennessee. Yeah.
yeah. Just
Yeah. Great song. Great
mm,
song. Great writer. I love his writing. Yeah. Again, how. And the freedom. He played with freedom.
mm,
Some of those guitar solos were so stunning. They were
mm,
so right.
yeah.
In fact, I act in my stage actor. My opening song is "Sweet Little 16."
Oh, great.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Mhm.
still do all that.
Okay, well, I'll let you get back to your day.
All right, and give my best to everybody out in Australia, and thank you
Yeah,
for
will do.
taking the time to interview an old man like me. It's lovely.
Thank you. We'll let you know when
All right, thank you very much
yeah,
indeed.
and good luck with the tour and the new music.
Thank you. That's
Yeah,
kind of you. Thank
thank
you.
you. Bye,
Thank
Marty.
you. Bye bye. Yeah,
Bye.
take care. Bye bye.